पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. There are two very hard questions of science which have been under consideration for very, very long time. One is that what is this universe made of? What is the material of which it is made of? And secondly, how the origin of life happened in this universe. The purpose of today's talk is not to go into those questions, but just to understand little background about them. And then to connect the entire universe with the individual. Now, Charles Darwin came out with a theory that everything is made of matter, and a particular combination of matter gave rise to a first cell, and that's how the life originated. That is one theory which has been propounded by a scientist. On the origin of the universe, there's a Big Bang theory which is generally accepted by the modern science, that there was a corpuscle of energy which somehow exploded and expanded into a huge, large universe and is still expanding. But then science has not been able to pinpoint what is the material the world is made of. They came out with the atom, then they broke the atom into neutron, proton, and electron. Then it was again further broken into what we call a quark and electron. And then it was broken into waves, and the waves gave what we call today quantum fields. Wave gave rise to quantum field. But science is not yet certain what is the material of which this world is made of. But we will leave this theory as it is here. We will go into the ancient wisdom of Indian writings, and we will go very briefly how this universe came into being and how a human being is directly connected in every sense with this world, with this universe. Now in Rig Veda, there is a very famous mantra which is called Nasidiya mantra. The meaning of that mantra is basically like this: there was neither non-existence nor existence, neither the realm of space nor the sky beyond. There was neither death nor immortality, no distinguishing sign of night nor of day. That one breathed endless by its own impulse. Other than that, there was nothing beyond. That is what you call a precise meaning of the Nasidiya Sukta in Rig Veda. Now it means that in the beginning there was nothing but a breath, and that breath has been described as consciousness, and we call it Brahma. From there the whole universe originated. Brahma is a conscious force. It is not a matter. It is not inanimate. It is animate conscious force. Now, this conscious force gave rise to two different, what we call in Sanskrit, Shakti. One is called Aparashakti, another is called Parashakti. Aparashakti gave rise to nature and the five elements of nature. In the sequence that happened, it started with Mahat Tattva. First element which gave birth to matter is Mahat Tattva. Then came Ahankar, Aham, and then came sky, Akash, and then the rest of it. I'll go very briefly into the sequence of it because that is very important. That is the origin of inanimate nature, and how animate nature came, how the life came into this nature is because of Parashakti, that is the deeper force of the Almighty Brahma. Now, if we look at the origin of the universe, we must look at one general principle that everything originates from subtle to gross. We discussed this briefly the other day, that when we start an activity, first we think in our mind what we need to start. That is what we call hidden or avyakt or unmanifested or non-manifested conception of the idea. And then it gradually goes into manifestation. Like we want to construct a house, we think, then we collect material, we collect people who will do it, and we put all the efforts together and the house is visible, which comes into the what we call manifested form. Exactly in the same way, the Brahma thought to create this universe, and he created this universe from subtle to gross. The first element which was created in the nature is Akash, is sky. We call it sky or Akash or ether or space, but Akash is the real word which encompasses everything into it. Now this Akash actually contains everything we can imagine. It appears empty. Even science cannot define it. They will say whatever exists between moon and earth is Akash. They cannot define because it doesn't have shape, it doesn't have color, it doesn't have smell. It is beyond our sense organs. And this Akash is actually connected to our sense of hearing. Now we will see the connection between individual human being and the entire nature, or I call it the Prakriti. The sound of hearing is directly connected to space. You cannot hear anything without the space. And now it is becoming more and more clear with what we call, we have these spectrums and waves, which actually means the space. And without space, no sound can travel anywhere. So there's a direct link between what we call space and the sense of hearing. The second layer of the nature is, it is called air or Vayu. Now air is slightly heavier than space. Space you cannot feel. You just pass, aircrafts pass, buildings are constructed. Space does not obstruct, does not become part of anything. It is part of everything, it is part of nothing. But air is not like that. Air has sound, it has movement, and when it touches your body, you feel the touch. So it is connected with our sense of touch. Sense of touch and air, they come from the same material, they are connected directly. That is the way the nature and human beings are connected. The space has only one attribute, that is the attribute of sound, but air has two attributes. First is the attribute of sound, which comes from space. Second is its own attribute of touch. So this has two attributes, while space has only one. Now the third heavier element is fire. Fire has three attributes. Fire originates from Vayu. Space gives birth to air. Air gives birth to fire. Now fire has three elements or three attributes. The first attribute is the attribute of space, that is the sound. Second is that of touch. And third, its own attribute, that is attribute of light and heat. Now our sense of sight, our eyes, they are directly connected with fire. We can see it when the sun goes down, our eyes cannot see. In the night, when there is complete darkness, you cannot see. So our sense of sight is directly connected to the element of fire. The fourth element, which is even heavier, is water. This element is born out of fire, and this has four attributes. The three attributes of the previous three elements, and fourth attribute of its own, that is the attribute of taste. So all the taste which we get in our tongue, they are directly connected to water. If there's no water, there can be no taste. Water and taste, therefore this sense of human being is directly connected to the element of water. And the fifth element, the heaviest, is the earth. That element has 5 attributes, 4 from the 4 previous elements, and its own attribute of smell. And our sense of smell is connected to earth. So we have 5 senses. Nature has 5 great elements. These 5 senses and 5 great elements are directly intertwined. They are connected. And that is one big connection between human being and nature. It's not only that, even our 5 senses of action, they are also connected to the 5 attributes of nature. They are connected in a very subtle way, and those attributes give rise to our what you call activities, because our activities are performed by our sense of action. Senses of action give rise to our activities. When we speak, it is the sense of speech. When we move our hands, it is the hands, the sense of movement which works. Similarly, the sense of evacuation, sense of procreation, and sense of movement. All these are directly connected to the 5 elements in the following way. The mouth, that is the sense of speech, is connected to the ether or the sky or the element of Akash. The genital is connected to the sense of air, to the element of air. The anus is connected to the element of fire. Hands are connected, or the sense of grasping is connected to the element of water, and our feet are connected to the element of earth. That is the direct connection between human being and nature. Now, our body is made of these 5 gross natural elements. We call them Panch Bhoot, Panch Mahabhoot actually we call them. These Panch Mahabhoot constitute our body. Body is made of food. Whatever we eat becomes our food. In the beginning, the body starts from a drop of semen and little part of egg that is also made out of food. And when we take mother's milk in the childhood, that also comes from food. Then gradually we start eating, the food becomes our body. It becomes our blood, our flesh, our neurons, our whatever we have in our body. Now, food gives us the 5 elements directly. If you look at the photosynthesis activity, a plant needs earth to grow on. It requires sunlight, that is the fire. It requires air. It requires space. And all the 5 elements nourish the plant. And those nourishment comes into our body, and that is how the body is called a creation of Panch Bhoot. And not only the human body, any which is visible in this universe is made of these 5 elements, a particular combination. The permutation and combination could change, but these elements constitute the foundation of everything physical you see in this universe. That is one side of life. Now, actual life, how the life, the consciousness comes into. That is, as I mentioned in the beginning, it comes from the Parashakti, that is the name given in Upanishad and also in Bhagavad Gita. That Shakti gives the consciousness, and that Shakti comes into our being through part of the Almighty. That is what we call Atma. Paramatma, Atma. From Paramatma, the small particle comes. It is our Atma. We also call it Jeev. That particle gives us consciousness, makes this body together, keeps this body together, keeps all these elements together, and gives us what we call the journey of life. So this is how the nature and human being are connected, and how the journey of life starts. So we get first point that we are directly connected to nature. The 5 gross elements of nature are connected to our 5 senses directly: senses of perception, senses of action. Our body is directly made of the 5 elements of nature. That should be clear. That is the first part, how we are intimately connected with nature. The second part, how the nature regulates our life, is very clearly visible. Sun is the most important regulator of our life. Our day begins with the sunrise, day ends with sunset. That is the beginning. When the sun rises, we can see the world. Today, you can say that because of electricity, we can see even in the night, but a very small little fragment of it. The whole universe disappears when the sun sets, and you see it again when the sun rises. So the sun gives you this world, you see the world, it gives you the energy to start your day, and when the sun sets, the energy comes to an end and you feel tired, you want to take rest. Now look at the thing called jet lag. What is jet lag? Jet lag is alignment of human being to the sun cycle. When we deviate from the sun cycle, the jet lag starts. When you go from here to US, there's, for example, 10-hour time difference. When the sun rises here, it's about to, it's dead night there. So that difference creates a deviation or creates a difference in your body alignment with the sun. And that's why you are not able to digest your food, you feel uncomfortable. It takes several days to get used to that, and then you start working normally. Now that is an example how the sun, how the nature regulates our life. The other very important part of sun is that we have an energy inside our body which is called prana, pranic energy. You can call it energy in the modern sense, but it is actually pranic energy as per the Vedic writings. This pranic energy is the one which keeps our body moving. Prana means movement. It keeps our body moving. It has 5 elements once again. The pranic energy is divided into 5 parts. The first is the main prana, which we breathe in, breath out from our nostrils. That is the main prana, where we inhale the nature, the energy of the nature inside, and we exhale all the toxins from the body outside. Then there is a saman pran, the pran which exists from your throat downwards up to your stomach. That is the pran which takes all the food and water which you take inside your body. It goes in with that prana. And this prana digests all. This is the part of digestive system. All the food which you eat is digested with the help of this prana. It is converted into what we call blood, flesh, bones, and whatever we have in our body. According to Ayurveda, there are 6 elements of the body, and those 6 elements are created by this pranic energy, which actually breaks down the food and breaks into 6 parts. So that is the second prana called saman prana, originating from the sun. All these prana originate from the sun. There is an Upanishad called Prasnopanishad where this has been explained in great detail. Then there is a third prana which is called apan pran. Apan is in the lower part of abdomen, connected with our senses of extraction, our anus and our sense of procreation. When you realize that when you are going to evacuation, you use that little force of that prana to take out the waste from the body. So that apan pran takes it down. Saman pulls it up. So there is a constant movement between saman and apan. Saman pulls it up, apan takes it down. And that movement keeps our body moving up and down all the time. The heartbeat starts with that pranic energy. So the Apan Pran is responsible for your sexual energy, for evacuation of the waste from the body, and also pulling the main pran inside the body, because it pulls it inside, and therefore you are forced to take breath in. You cannot stop taking breath in because of the Apan Pran. So these are the three pranas which are directly connected with our main part of the body. Then there are two more. One is called Vyan Pran. Vyan means which is existing everywhere. The word Vyan means existing everywhere. Now that prana actually originates from our heart and goes through, according to Prasnopanishad, there are 72 million nadis in our body. There are 100 main nadis. They are divided into 100 each more. That 10,000 are divided into 72,000 each again. So that is the total number of pranic channels in our body. They are called nadi in our traditional way. And those nadis carry that pran to every single cell of the body. For example, you get numbness in some part of the body sometimes. In old age, you get numbness in your finger or in some other part. That happens because the Vyan Pran had not reached in that particular area of your body in adequate quantity. And that is why the numbness starts. So the Vyan Pran gives you sensation and awareness in every single cell of human body. That is the fourth pran. And fifth pran is called Udan Pran, which actually resides in the head or forehead area of the human being. And that does only one main function. The function at the time of death, it takes away the human soul along with the balance of mind, senses, and karma, and goes into outer space. So these are the 5 pranic energies which are directly connected with the sun, and sun gives birth to those 5 energies into our body. And these energies regulate our entire body system inside. So this is another way in which we are connected, what we call the whole science of body is connected to the nature, starting with food and body and our daily activities, our sense organs. It is an intimate connection with nature. Now, the consciousness. Consciousness has again 5 parts, or it is divided into 5 parts once again, what we call Parashakti, or the inside the human body it is called Atma or consciousness, whatever you call it. Now that has 5 stages, you can call them 5 stages. The first stage is called, in Vedic terms, mineral regime. Mineral regime means all the non-movable things, achar sansar jisko kehte hain, all the non-movable part of this world, of this universe, like mountains or rocks or earth, they have energy, they have consciousness, but that consciousness is in a very small quantity. For example, you keep a chemical or an iron rod outside, it will slowly, after years, it will disappear. That is the sign that it has consciousness. It can disappear, it can disintegrate, but it is a very slow process. And that is why that is called mineral regime, the consciousness with mineral regime. It's a very slow and low. The second higher regime is called plant regime. That consciousness is somewhat more developed. For example, we see the plants, they grow, they give leaves, they give flowers, fruits, they have their roots inside, they are growing. There is some movement upward or sideward in the plants. So that is the second, what you call, stage of consciousness, which is somewhat more developed than mineral regime, but not enough developed. The third is called animal regime or animal, you know, layer of consciousness. Now that is somewhat more developed than the plant regime. The animals can walk, there's a movement, they can talk among themselves, they understand each other. So the level of consciousness is higher in animals than in plants. So that is the third layer of consciousness. Fourth layer of consciousness is human being. We are the most developed species in this universe. Our level of consciousness is the highest.